Welcome to episode 2, which is the HDR process. First thing we're going to do is we are going to load our action. And to do that, we're going to go to Window, choose Actions, and you will find the action that has been emailed to all members. And if you have already installed it on your computer, it will reside on this toolbar. Most likely at the very end of the toolbar when it's been installed, and then you've got to move it up the screen, which would be its preferred position for easy access. What you will see on the screen is a little folder and a little arrowhead, and if you click on the arrowhead, it will open up the fact that there's two actions within this folder. The first action refers to last week's episode, and the second action refers to tonight's episode. So if we click on the highlight of the action, you'll see it in grey, and down at the bottom you see the arrowhead. We'll click the arrowhead to start the action. When the arrowhead is pressed, you will get up an information message. It's advisable to read this carefully, as it will explain what this action will do and how you'll be able to progress your image to its finished state. So in the first instance, a HDR layer will be created in the raw editor. So this goes back to your raw editor and creates a HDR layer, then sends it back to Photoshop for a mask, and the mask is applied. It allows the user to apply as little or as much HDR as you wish. The deep shadow detail and the brightest highlight detail have been protected. In other words, what's actually happened is that we don't want the shadows to get any darker, and we don't want the highlights to get any brighter. And therefore these areas have been protected, and it's a mid-tone amendment that we're carrying out. If you would like to reverse this can be done. A curve has been added to allow the user to adjust the image contrast. So if you want it to be a bit punchy or a bit weak, you can. And finally, there is a sharpening layer attached, so that if you wish to, again, apply as little as much sharpening as you wish. We press the continue button. We will get up another user message that is going to take you to the sharpening screen. On the sharpening screen, you can dictate how strong you want the sharpening to be. Of course, you can adjust this afterwards. I only have it just set at 10 pixels, and you can, at this particular time, you can decide if you only want 5 or if you want more. You can enter it in this box, and that will be your base. So if you select OK to continue. If we go back to layers at the top of the screen, you will find that it has renamed the main layer master so that we don't overwrite it. It has put in a sharpening layer, it's put a mask on. So I put in a HDR and it's put a mask on, and it's put a curves on so that you can adjust the contrast. First thing we're going to do is we're going to select our HDR layer, and by doing this we will click on the HDR mask and you'll see a little box appear around it, which means that that is now active. If we go across and select our paintbrush, that allows us to paint in the area that we want to the HDR to apply. What I'm going to do, just so you can see things happen, I'm just going to click this little X here, which will switch off the layer box, and we can apply the HDR, and I'm just going to brush it onto this area of the post where we would like a HDR content. I'm going to open it up a little bit more, and we're going to sweep across these rocks, which will give these rocks a wee bit more presence. And then of course over the boat, which would be another feature of the HDR. The greenery, etc., is all within the range, of what our eyes saw, so there's no necessity to exaggerate the grass. We just want to bring a bit more attention to the areas that we wish the HDR to apply. I'm just going to brush over the roof. And if I go back to the layers, window and actions, pick up my layers, you will see within the HDR there is a greyed out area starting to occur, which indicates the amount of HDR that's been applied. So if I now switch it off and switch it on, and I'll just blow it up a little so you can see, and pay particular attention here to the boat. If I switch it off and switch it on, you can see that we have got a HDR effect. If you look at the yellow door, you'll see we've got a HDR effect. And again, if we have a look at the wooden post, we've got a HDR effect. And you can see that coming through. You can see the grain of the wood. The other thing about this is that if you wish to increase the contrast, you can click on this little, I would call it half moon symbol, and you will get up a curve. Now what we're going to do with the curve is we're going to look at the custom presets, because to understand this would be a lesson on its own. So if I go to custom and I want to apply strong contrast, I just select strong, and you can see the darkening that occurred in the areas that have had the HDR brushed in. So if we have a look back at the picture and we fit the screen, we see we had a strong contrast, and then if we wanted to be a medium contrast, you'll see there's been a medium change to the curve, and if we wanted a lighter contrast, you will see it going lighter. So these are just additional controls that you're able to apply the HDR to your taste. Having applied the HDR, you now wish to apply some sharpening. The sharpening is controlled on the high pass, sharpen high pass layer. And what we do is we select the high pass once again with the little square around the mask, which tells us it's active, and select the paintbrush. When we select the paintbrush, we can effectively brush this in. Remember, we're brushing it in at that 10 pixel level, and later on, if we wish to tone that back, we have got the control of toning back the amount of sharpening that we apply. At this particular stage, I'm just being very liberal and picking out some areas that are going to be sharper than the rest, where our eye is going to be drawn. And you'll notice I chose this particular picture because of its vibrant colours. It picks the R, the red, the G, the green, and the blue. And from this particular point of view, this gives a very good illustration of a HDR image and the colours that can be, let's say, brought out. I'm just going to bring that over top of here, and as you can see below, you can see the sharpening has taken effect. And if I blow it up and switch it off, it's going to be subtle. You can have it as strong or as weak as you wish. And again, one of the things about it is a good image can be sharp to suit your eye, and at the same time you can go overboard and make the image too strong. So what I would say is, just when you're happy that you have given enough sharpening, that's the time to stop. What we don't want to do is we don't want to over illustrate, and effectively the viewer will see that this image is being overcooked. So again, if we switch it off and switch it on, I'll just zoom into this door. we switch it off and switch it on. You can see it's a very, very subtle approach, but it does the job. Again, off and on. And that is sharpening. Again, you can add as little or as much as you require. That brings this episode to an end, and I hope that you find that the action will allow you to do a considerable amount of work with the least amount of effort.